What's up, everyone? Welcome to the November 5th edition of the NBA Injury Report brought to you by BetMGM. I'm your host, Adam Scherer. You can follow me on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And we have a 7-game NBA slate tonight, so there are plenty of questionable players and injuries to talk about. But first, we do have an offer for you from BetMGM. Click the link in the description below, sign up, make a deposit, place a real money wager on BetMGM, and receive a risk-free first bet up to $1,000 in addition to 2 free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Take advantage of this offer. Click the link below and get your first risk-free bet from BetMGM. Now, taking a look at the injury report, starting with the Charlotte Hornets, Gordon Hayward remains out. Cody Martin remains out. Terry Rozier is questionable. He hasn't played in a while. If he comes back, it would most likely force Dennis Smith Jr. back to the bench. Rozier would also, I assume, continue playing his role as a primary scorer for the Hornets, especially with Gordon Hayward sidelined. If he is out, then we will continue to see more of what we've seen recently. Dennis Smith Jr. starting and playing into the low to mid 30s. I expect McDaniels to start once again in Gordon Hayward's place like we saw last night. He was absolutely awful last night from a fantasy standpoint, but overall this season, he's been a solid fantasy producer. Kelly Oubre should get plenty of usage, and that increases if Rozier is out as well. For the Orlando Magic, Terrence Ross is questionable after missing their last game. In that game, Jalen Suggs joined the starting lineup. He played a bunch of minutes, got up a bunch of shots, played really well. If Ross is out today, it's likely that Suggs once again starts and plays a lot of minutes. We also saw Chuma Okeke play a big role off the bench. He certainly has a path to that again if Ross is out. For the Hawks, Trae Young is questionable. He did return from his injury in the last game, so my assumption is that he is closer to probable, but I am basing that on nothing other than the fact that he returned to the last game, so I could certainly be wrong. If he is out, it's a bump for most other players on the Hawks. DeJounte Murray would look fantastic without Young on the floor. He would have the ball in his hands a lot more, which means a higher usage rate, more assist opportunities, more fantasy points per minute. You would very likely see an uptick in usage for John Collins as well. So it would open up the door for a lot of things from Atlanta if Young is out. For the Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo is questionable. They're obviously already playing without Chris Middleton. So if Giannis is out, it should be the Drew Holiday show. He is already averaging about 1.25 fantasy points per minute this season. That rate would jump even more if Giannis is out. You also would potentially see more minutes for Bobby Portis. They've been playing him alongside Brook Lopez quite a bit this year. Wouldn't be surprising if he joined the starting lineup in place of Giannis. Alternatively, maybe you see Jordan Nwora slide into the starting lineup. Maybe you see Wesley Matthews, who is basically a fantasy zero. But if it's Portis in particular, he would look really good. And if it's Nwora, he's worth taking shots on as well. And for the Denver Nuggets, Bones Highland and Ish Smith, both questionable. One of the Denver beat reporters did suggest that he thinks Highland is going to play tonight based on how pregame or how shoot around went. He said Highland didn't appear to be nursing any sort of injury, but he is still officially listed as questionable. If he's in, he is likely playing 18 to 20 minutes. If he's out, it does open the door. If he's out and Smith is out, it does open the door for a lot of minutes for Bruce Brown, as we saw last game, in addition to potentially a couple of extra minutes for Jamal Murray. So to recap, the biggest pieces of injury news that we are waiting on right now: Terry Rozier, questionable for the Hornets; Terrence Ross, questionable for the Magic; Trae Young, questionable for the Hawks; Giannis Antetokounmpo, questionable for the Bucks; and Bones Highland and Ish Smith both are questionable for the Denver Nuggets.